Welcome to a fresh episode of Legal Wrangle on GST. Though GST is grounded for some time as GST Council is yet to finalize the new design of the GSTR, the taxpayers continue to file writ petitions on the various grounds and the higher judiciary is busy disposing them off. Let's proceed with our first case. Some goods belonging to the petitioner company were detained by the Assistant State Tax Officer under the relevant provisions of the CGST Act and the Kerala GST Act. Thus, present writ was filed seeking the detained goods to be released.
The court relied upon an identical matter which had been disposed of earlier, wherein expeditious completion of the adjudication of the matter had been directed. Further, the court permitted release of the goods in terms of Rule 140 of the Kerala Goods and Services Tax Rules 2017.
Following the precedent, the court in the present case directed that competent authority complete the adjudication process within 1 week. It also directed that the goods be released should the petitioner company be found to have complied with Rule 140 of the Kerala Goods and Services Tax Rules 2017. Let us now proceed to our next case.
The petitioner company is engaged in manufacturing robotic and automation equipment. It was granted a provisional registration number under the CGST Act and the Maharashtra GST Act. The petitioner claimed to be unable to access its online profile on the GSTN, for which it faulted the automated and electronic system of accepting tax returns based on self-assessment.
The petitioner further claimed that since the electronic way bills rules has not yet come into the force, the petitioner was unable to generate e-way bills without access to the online profile. Further, without such e-way bills, the petitioner would not be allowed to move the goods anywhere and ultimately paralyze its business. It was also claimed that without access, the petitioner was unable to pay taxes, file returns or make any other compliances.
The petitioner further claimed that such lack of access prevented it from receiving a final registration number, failing which it would be liable to pay interest or even possibly face penal consequences. More importantly, the petitioner and its customers were also deprived of input tax credit. Subsequent to filing the present writ petition, the petitioner company claimed that although it had been granted access to its online profile, even such access was incomplete. It claimed to be unable to file the return GSTR 3B, without which payment of taxes was not possible. Further, such returns were not being accepted without payment of the late fee for the period from October 2017 onwards.
Hearing the petitioner's grievances, the court expressed its dissatisfaction with the state of affairs. It lambasted the heavy publicity of the fanfare surrounding the GST regime and observed that the special sessions of the Parliament or the extraordinary meeting of GST councils were meaningless if the regime was not friendly towards the taxpayer by not providing easy access to the websites and portals. The court also referred to several petitions in the past which highlighted difficulties faced by the users of the GSTN portal.
Thus, the court expressed hope that the authorities concerned would put in place the requisite mechanism. It further observed that the same was necessary to preserve the image, prestige and reputation of India, particularly when inviting welcoming foreign investment. Thereby, the respondents were directed to open the portal or else entertain the petitioner's application manually and pass appropriate orders. Notably, the court also expressed hope to not to be called upon in future to administer the implementation of the law or monitor supervise the functions of individual officials regardless of rank. Let's now proceed to our third case.
The petitioner company herein is engaged in manufacture and sale of surgical gloves and is registered under the CGST Act as well as the Kerala GST Act. A consignment of surgical gloves sent for the quality appraisal on job work basis against delivery challans was detained by respondent on the ground that the petitioner should have uploaded a declaration in accordance with Rule 138 of the state's SGST rules before transporting the goods. It was further alleged that the goods being transported were intended to be supplied to the unregistered firm, therefore raising suspicion of tax evasion.
Before the court, the respondent attempted to justify the detention of the goods on grounds that the delivery challan accompanying the goods had not been prepared as per the provisions of the state SGST rules. However, on hearing the matter, the court held that such detention could not be justified using some reason not cited in the notice served to the petitioner. Consequently, the court held that it was immaterial to delve into whether or not the delivery challan was drafted in accordance with the provisions of the State GST Act. On this ground alone, the court held that the detention of the goods was illegal and directed them to be released. Let us now proceed to our last case.
The petitioner company is a leading transnational pharmaceutical company. The petitioner sought to avail input tax credit on pre-GST stock of medicines. However, the petitioner claimed that availing such credit would be hit by a stipulation in Section 140 of the Central Goods and Service Tax Act 2017. This provision restricted claim of transitional credit up to a period of 1 year. So, aggrieved, the petitioner filed the present writ petition.
On hearing the submissions of both sides, the High Court held that the petitioner was free to claim input tax credit. It further held that should the petitioner's claim be rejected, the assessee's eligibility to claim such credit would be subject to the final decisions of this court. With such observation, the court directed the issue of notices to the respondent and listed the matter for hearing on a later date. This brings us to the end of this episode of Legal Wrangle on GST. Please stay tuned to TIOLtube.com for more videos. Also feel free to share your views or suggestions with us at editor@tiol.in. Have a good day.